This is a severe weather alert from WWL Weather, sponsored by Egan Insurance Agency.
All right, good evening. Happy Mardi Gras. We do have some active weather as a line of storms is moving through. And our big thing, of course, just in the past couple of minutes, a tornado warning has been issued for this corner of our viewing area. This does include parts of Assumption and St. James parishes. There is a storm right around Donaldsonville. It's moving fast at about 50 miles per hour off to the northeast. And you can see clearly this is embedded in this line of strong thunderstorms that is racing across or just about to enter our area, but has really moved pretty fast across Baton Rouge and now is moving off toward our Louisiana parishes for our part of the viewing area. So here it is. You can see around Donaldsonville what we have going on right now. Very heavy rain around Gonzales and not far from Convent. Actually, this is just north of Convent and Lutcher. That is included in the red boxed tornado warning. And so that's what we're watching right now. It looks like this is going to be heading toward McElroy and places like Sorrento. Let me show you our planner or our timeline for when you could potentially expect this cell at its current speed to arrive in these different spots. You can see around Sorrento, maybe 5:07, so just about 10 minutes there. And then other spots like French Settlement and Maurepas by about 5:20 or so. So that would be the timeline in this one small section of our viewing area. Again, the storm is around Donaldsonville. The National Weather Service issued the tornado warning. It has not been confirmed or spotted, but there is indication of rotation, and you can actually see it here on radar. So let me bring us over into our, first of all, the timeline for the entire line of storms. As this crosses off to the east, it's moving at about 30 or so miles per hour to the east. But something interesting is that all of these little embedded cells in the line are absolutely racing off to the northeast. So there are kind of the two vectors of motion here, and those are going at near 70 miles per hour. So a kind of complex little system moving in, and we knew that this was going to be pretty fast, racing across our area, not sticking around forever, not bringing a lot of flooding rain, but it does look like we are going to be seeing it approach the New Orleans area. I'm sure a lot of people kind of concerned about that with so many people outdoors. I think it'll be about 6 to 7 or so p.m. that we see it for the city of New Orleans. So with storm rotation, this is our product that we can use with radar. And you can see it here. This is roughly where the rotation is right now, where the greens and blues kind of come up next to each other. And this is moving to the northeast. So it's going to be crossing, looks like the cell that's prompted the tornado warning, crossing I-10 at some point in maybe the next 5 minutes or so, and then continuing off to the northeast. And that would be I-10, not quite at Gonzales, but a little bit farther south of Gonzales toward New Orleans as opposed to Baton Rouge. And looking again at the timeline for that disturbance here with our velocity product, you can see Sorrento, maybe the next 4 minutes or so, 5 minutes. The other product said about 5:07, so we're getting very close. French Settlement by about 5:10, 5:15 or so, and then if it does continue on, 5:20 for places like Verdun and Denison. So that's why we are already on air with this live picture of radar with that line of storms moving from west to east. And we've been waiting all day for it, but we knew we were going to wait all day for it. Earlier today, it was definitely the winds that were the factor, the non-thunderstorm winds, just the gusty kind of atmosphere that we had. And now we're seeing the line approach. And as I was showing you the timeline for the entire line, this is putting it into just kind of looking at how far or how fast it's moving right now, and then projecting that out across our area. Homa, maybe about 6:20 or so. New Orleans, this is saying about 7, but I think it could be more like 6 to 7 or so for New Orleans. So right around sunset, which is now just after 6 p.m. at this point in the year, we will be having, I think, those most active minutes with this storm moving through. And then it could be on toward our Mississippi counties, Diamond Head and Long Beach in the 8 o'clock hour. So this is going to be fast, and the rain is probably completely gone. I think by about 8 and 9 p.m. it'll be finishing up across New Orleans and into Mississippi. So it's going to move in. There are going to be some strong winds, some brief heavy rain, and also we've talked about the severe risk in general. We do have a tornado watch in the red area, so this big area across southeast Louisiana into Mississippi. Tornado watch that goes until 7 p.m. We'll see if it gets extended, as that line will still be moving across our area, I think, at 7. And then, of course, this little spot is our tornado warned area. It includes just a little bit of St. James and Assumption parishes. And the storm started, as I've been saying, around Donaldsonville and is now continuing to the northeast. So this is, again, where the area for the rotation is moving to the northeast near 50 miles per hour. And this is really the roughest part of the line at this point. If we take a look at some other sections, you can see it's just now starting to rain in places like Mandeville and Covington. So you're right there on the edge of these showers ahead of that main line. Of course, much of I-55 around Hammond, we're certainly seeing the rain getting very close, that heavier rain around Hammond and north toward north of Folsom at this point into Washington Parish, just starting to edge in there. And then farther south, you can see this is kind of where the rotation is with this sort of break in the line here. And then farther south starts another line of some heavy rain. And if we sample that and look a little bit farther to the south, that goes all the way to Morgan City. And we are seeing it now get very close to Kenner. It's not quite at Kenner, but some of these early showers have reached those of you in Laplace and Luling, almost there, and not far at all from Kenner at this point. And then it will be continuing into the rest of the New Orleans area. So we were saying actually all day and even yesterday from about 4 or 5 p.m. onward, be aware there's going to be this strong storm system moving in, and indeed the timing has worked out pretty well. And last night, let's see, we were saying for New Orleans right around maybe 7 p.m. or so, and I think it's going to be right in there in that range, about 6 and 7 for New Orleans. So if you know people who are out and about, we all do, I guess, it is going to be getting active eventually in the city of New Orleans. And we've been checking out, of course, tons of Mardi Gras coverage earlier today. I just checked our Bourbon Street camera. It is absolutely packed with people, and I hope everyone has their WWL app or way to get alerts, because it's going to be moving in with this rain by about 6 to 7 or so p.m. So a little bit longer to get outside if you are somewhere where it's still dry and a decent way away from this line, and then you'll want to wrap it up and head indoors when this line moves through. There is a bit of lightning with this system. I'm not seeing a ton of lightning actually looking at it right now. There was a whole lot in a cell that was on the northern edge of the line into southern Mississippi around Macomb. There was a tornado warning earlier and a ton of lightning with that system. But actually, let me sample this right now and just kind of see how much lightning we are looking at. And about 60 strikes in the past few minutes. So that's not actually very much. And if you look closely, we're seeing the line beginning to show some signs, especially farther south, of maybe weakening a little bit, and it's not quite as sturdy and as strong farther south. So we will see if it does begin to break up a little bit. Again, if you're just joining us, we do have this tornado warning that we've been talking about, and that is in parts of St. James and Assumption Parish around Donaldsonville, with this cell moving to the northeast. So let me just show you that box really quickly. So if you're just joining us for the 5 p.m. newscast, if you are in this red shaded box, that's the tornado warned area. And we are seeing that cell continuing off pretty quickly, so it won't be long, but you'll just want to, if you can think of a nice safe spot in your house and you're in this immediate spot, that would be a good place to go, at least for the next few minutes. Let's take a look at a model so you can make your plans. We knew this is the evening time on our Mardi Gras day that we were getting these showers and storms moving in. Now, this is one model that's, I think it's doing a pretty okay job. It has it breaking up a whole lot. We're actually seeing a more solid line at this point than what the model has. So not initializing perfectly, but you can see the gist. By 6 p.m., there are some breaks, but there are also some pretty strong cells embedded in this line moving right across New Orleans. I paused it here, potentially 7 p.m. Some of the roughest weather is now reaching coastal Mississippi and is maybe just clearing the New Orleans area, 7 to maybe 8 or so. And then this is 8 p.m. We'll fast forward to about 10 p.m. and it looks like it should be out of here. Now, we've been tracking another model I wanted to show you quickly. This is our high resolution model. And at 5 p.m., it clearly is a little too early with the rain. It has it already well over all of our North Shore spots and right over New Orleans. So this one is going too fast, but keep it in mind, it has the rain completely gone and really moving out fast, even earlier by about 8 p.m. I think we'll still have rain around by 8 p.m. or so, at least for some of our spots. How about that wind very quickly? I wanted to stress this also. If you're not in that line of active weather just yet with the storms, then you're probably just dealing with the high wind gusts. And indeed, we have seen those high winds today. We had the high wind warning in effect. That's still in effect till 9 p.m. for those winds up to 35 miles per hour sustained and gusts higher than that. And how about those gusts? Well, the highest so far today has been Belle Chase at 56 mile per hour wind gusts. That was the peak for today. At Kenner, 53 mile per hour wind gusts, so pretty gusty scenario out at the Kenner Airport. The lakefront, 61 mile per hour wind gusts. That qualifies just that speed of wind as severe. If you had a severe thunderstorm that was creating winds of 61 miles per hour, it would be labeled a severe thunderstorm. Slidell, about 43 mile per hour winds. Other spots like Baton Rouge, about 51 miles per hour. And actually, we're seeing some information come in from the National Weather Service, people sharing some photos of some trees down around Baton Rouge, very kind of closer to the Baton Rouge area. And National Weather Service meteorologists are kind of suggesting that those were probably just from wind gusts earlier today and not actually from that line of storms. But I'm sure they'll have to do some assessments and kind of see in greater detail what exactly happened. But some of those reports were coming in before the line of storms reached Baton Rouge. Already some trees down just from the wind. Let's check back quickly with radar and see what we have happening. We still have, as of this moment, our tornado warning ongoing. Parts of St. James, part of Assumption Parish. And we will see if it continues to track this way and if the rotation stays there. It could get extended, but we're not sure if that will happen. And I've been seeing the rotation showing up with velocity. It does appear to be there, but again, we'll see what the National Weather Service does as this cell continues this way. So if you're in that red box, we're seeing the cell move so fast. We're now kind of in this right-hand side for where you would want to take it seriously and get to a safe place in your house. And zooming in a little bit more, French Settlement is right there. Places like Whitehall, Denson, and other spots a little bit farther to the northeast would include Killian, not far from Killian. This is just going to make it to the northern edge, it looks like, of Lake Maurepas. This is officially outside the warned area at this point, but that's clearly where it's heading. And if we look at the planner here, we have French Settlement getting ready for, really, it's very close to French Settlement at this point. We're about 4 or 5 minutes off with our planner as of this point. So checking once again, here is our live radar scene. We're expecting it in New Orleans around 6 to 7 or so p.m. This model or this tool that I used using the current speed and then just moving it out into space as the line continues to the east is showing just before 7 p.m. for New Orleans. But actually, I think it's going to be a little bit earlier than that, like I've been saying. And we are anticipating the rain to move through really fast. Flooding not a concern, quick maybe ½ inch to possibly up to 1 inch of rain, but I think a lot of spots will get less than that. And here are those current winds, by the way, if you are curious about that. We're seeing current winds up to about 20 plus miles per hour sustained, but look at the lakefront, 37 mile per hour sustained winds there from the south. That's your 61 mile per hour gust there, 56 at Belle Chase, and Kenner and Bay St. Louis and Slidell, and a lot of spots, including Reserve, have just recently seen that wind gust. Those are the yellow numbers you're seeing there, the current wind gusts, or in the past few minutes, up to about 40 miles per hour or a little less.
Alexandra, we're seeing some, heavy rain-ish coming down in Hammond and in Tangipahoa Parish right now as we're talking. We thought maybe this would have come through earlier. What are we thinking about the timing of this, and is this going to be the worst of it?
Yeah, well, this is the big line right now, and yes, for Hammond, it very much is coming for you right now, and it's not lasting very long. This will not be a prolonged thing. But yes, as far as timing goes, we were thinking between about 5 and 10. It's 5 p.m. right now, so we are seeing it north of the lake, and then we've been saying for the city last night and then today maybe about 6 to 8 or so, and I think it's still holding pretty close to that. So in the next maybe half hour to hour, I think we'll see this move into New Orleans, moving across, of course, the metro area from Kenner on toward Chalmette and St. Bernard, and New Orleans there maybe in the 6 p.m. hour for some of the roughest weather with this line.
Oh, do you see any conditions that might potentially extend that tornado warning any longer than 5:15?
You know, we're thinking, I personally, just looking at the rotation and kind of seeing how it's shaping up, I wouldn't be surprised if it's let go at 5:15, so that would only give us a few more minutes now. But it does look like we are going to, let me check in actually with the National Weather Service, and they have our updates that they have with little tidbits. So let me see if they've made any more indications about how long it might last.
Yeah, you know, we're kind of seeing water on the roadways, things like that you expect to see when we have a strong line of storms moving through like this in the areas of Sorrento and on I-10 and places like that, you know, between here and Baton Rouge. So, you know, that line clearly moving its way toward the metropolitan New Orleans area. Of course, the worst of it, as everyone can see on the radar that's on your screen right now, appears to be on the North Shore. So North Shore expecting to get the greatest extent of this, at least in the next few minutes, right, Alexandra?
Yeah, that's right. And again, we only have a couple more minutes for that tornado warning, but we are seeing sort of like a filling in of this line, and sometimes that can be a good thing. It can kind of spread the energy out so you have fewer areas where it's kind of getting stronger, so that can sometimes be a good thing. But we are seeing that sort of happening here with this line as it is now moving off to the eastern edge, really the fringe of where that tornado warned spot was. And so yes, North Shore starting to see a bit more lightning actually even just within the past few minutes here in the western part of Washington Parish. And then farther south, not quite as much has been happening. And earlier actually we had a big severe warned spot on the northern end of this line into Mississippi, and another big spot over here in the south, and then kind of a big space where it was not making it to severe criteria, at least to prompt a warning right in the middle. And that would be the part that makes it into kind of the Lake Pontchartrain, North Shore, South Shore spot. So we will see. Of course, the line is changing a bit as it's moving through our part of southeast Louisiana. So we will see what happens. But at least we're seeing some things. For example, the line moving pretty fast, so that's a good thing. We're not seeing all that much lightning. There is certainly lightning, don't want to say that there's not, but it's not quite as much in some of these cells along this line at least. And yeah, we'll just continue to watch as it moves to the east through the evening.
Alexandra, I know that for people who are just joining us, there are a lot of revelers that are outside for Mardi Gras Day celebrating Fat Tuesday on Bourbon Street. Around what time do we think people need to head back inside or maybe find shelter to get away from the rain that's coming this way?
Yeah, if you're in New Orleans, I've been saying about 6 to 7 p.m. for the worst of it, I think. So I would say if you want to, you know, give yourself a few more extra minutes, maybe 5:30, and the next maybe 10, 20 minutes, you could wind it down and find somewhere to maybe grab an early dinner or something like that, because yeah, the line is out there. I think it'll be probably 6 p.m. something that we get absolutely the worst of it. And then by 7 and 8, it will be more crossing to the east of the city of New Orleans. And as of this point, it is 5:15. It looks at this point like the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. So we will get back to weather as needed, but clearly the line approaching New Orleans as we speak.
All right, Alexandra, thank you so much.